This is the GoPro Hero 8 and it was released in 2019. But is it still a good camera in 2024? Well, when we take a look at the build quality of this camera, it still feels really nice. You can see that it is really compact and small, so you can easily carry it around, but sadly it doesn't have a removable lens cover like most of the other GoPros. Which means that you have to be more careful with this, because if this breaks, then you can't replace it with a new one. But compared to the Hero 9, the camera is definitely a bit more compact, so it is a bit easier to carry around, so I like its smaller size. But it also doesn't have a front screen, so you won't be able to preview your image when you are shooting with the camera. But because it has a wide angle lens, then most of the time that isn't a massive issue, because it captures most of the things in the frame anyways. And I think the build quality is really nice. And because it's an action cam, it definitely feels rugged as well. And the camera has two buttons and is controlled through the touchscreen, which works great. And this is the first GoPro with these built-in mounting fingers, which I think isn't perfect. I would rather have a 1/4 inch 20 here, but it's much better than the old one where you had to use a separate case just to mount the camera to a tripod. And the battery life of this camera is okay, but it's definitely not amazing, so you probably want to carry an extra battery with you if you like to do a lot of shooting. So when you shoot in 1080p, you should be able to get about an hour, maybe an hour and a half out of it. But when you shoot in 4K, then you probably will only be able to get about 40 minutes out of it, so that's not so great. And it has this nice touchscreen on the back, which is cool. And it has a fixed lens, but you can choose between multiple lens options in the settings, so you can have a wide angle shot or select linear if you don't want that GoPro fisheye look. So I think it's nice that it has those lens options. And the menu system of the camera also works nice. And online I've seen some complaints about this camera sometimes freezing up and being really slow, so keep that in mind. The camera is really easy to use. You just turn it on, hit record, and you will get a good image. And what I also like is that you have different settings, so you can adjust the colors but also the sharpness of the image. And you have a lot of resolution and frame rate options, so you can shoot in 240 fps in 1080p but also 4K at 60 fps. So the images that you can get out of this camera still look nice, but what I do notice is that it's definitely not that good in low light, and even in medium lighting conditions it sometimes struggles. So if you are someone who likes to shoot in lower lighting conditions, then this is definitely not the camera for you. And the camera also has multiple microphones that do sound great, and you don't need any external microphone to get good audio with it, but it sadly doesn't have a 3.5mm option on the body, so you are stuck using the internal microphones, but the internal microphones do sound great on this camera. And it also has some nice features like slow motion and the time warp feature, which allows you to create hyperlapse videos. And the stabilization of this camera is really great, especially when there is a lot of good light. But once it gets darker, then the stabilization will get worse. So should you still buy the Hero 8 in 2024? Well, if you need a small, compact camera that you can easily carry around, then this can still be a good option. The video quality is still great, but keep in mind it's already an older camera, so it's not perfect. So the low light isn't that good. The battery life is also not the best. And there are some people saying online that this camera likes to freeze. So what do you think of the Hero 8? Are you planning on buying one? Or do you already have one? Let me know in the comments down below, and thank you so much for watching.